Let's turn now to the business and geopolitical implications coming out of Davos. US President Donald Trump has nominated conversations at the World Economic Forum, from unveiling his controversial Board of Peace to delivering a wide-ranging peace that touched on trade, energy, global alliances, and the future of multilateral cooperation. For more on how Trump's remarks are being received by global business leaders and policy makers here at the forum, we're joined live from Davos by our business anchor, Rotus Odiri. Rotus, good to have you with us.
Great to be with you, Nii, Cynthia, and all our viewers out there.
In Davos, how are global business and political leaders reacting to President Trump's speech, and what do they think it means for trade markets and multilateral cooperation going forward?
The Board of Peace was supposed to be part of the second phase of the 20-point plan to reconstruct Gaza. So it was supposed to be demilitarization, reduction in escalation of violence, and basically rebuilding Gaza. That's what it started out. And I think the United Nations even endorsed it and gave it legitimacy, because the understanding was that it was supposed to be able to basically rebuild Gaza after all the violence and the what had been going on there with the conflict with Israel. Now, all of a sudden, the charter for this board has turned into something else, where it now says that the Board of Peace is going to be addressing conflicts around the world. And even Trump himself made a comment that it might replace the United Nations. According to the charter, he's the board chair indefinitely, which means he might remain chair of the Board of Peace even after his presidency ends. There's another executive board that includes his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, his special envoy, Steve Witkoff, and basically members of his cabinet. So I think the signing ceremony you saw, if you noticed, a lot of Western allies weren't in attendance. Most of the folks who have signed up for this are from the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Morocco, Kosovo, Turkey, Hungary, I think Israel as well, although I think Netanyahu has a few issues with folks that are on the board. So this Board of Peace, and of course, you cannot miss the irony of the chair of a Board of Peace that went into Venezuela to snatch the president there and bring him to the U.S. And also has been threatening military strikes on certain targets. You can't miss the irony there. So that's on the Board of Peace. Did you want me to go into the speech yesterday as well?
Yes, that would be nice.
Oh, all right. Let's get into it. So the address to Davos yesterday, I attended it. It was Arise News was in the Congress Hall. It was really something else to be just like 30, 40 feet away from President Trump. It was essentially a domestic agenda. I mean, he came there talking about the U.S. stock market, talking about investments coming to America, talking about inflation, and it was very odd, frankly, for somebody to come to an international audience and to start talking about domestic issues, right? But he did, of course, the big news coming out of that speech yesterday that we saw live is that he's taking military action off the table to take Greenland. Greenland, of course, is independent, overseen by Denmark. The Prime Minister of Greenland has said we're not for sale. Prime Minister of Denmark has said we're not for sale. He sort of threatened military action, and things escalated on Tuesday when the Prime Minister of Greenland said, look, we're prepared for anything, even military action. So the markets fell, bond yields in the US went up, and Trump noticed. And just for our viewers, I've said this multiple times between yesterday and today, Trump, for those who think he doesn't answer to anyone, he answers to two entities: the American people and the markets. So he backed off, and so we saw the markets rise yesterday on two things. One, him saying taking military action off the table for Greenland, and two, that he's come up with some framework from Greenland. This is another framework again, like his Board of Peace with so many questions. He claims he spoke with Mark Rutte, who is the Secretary General of NATO, and that they have some kind of framework for Greenland. We don't have details. Greenland is not involved. Denmark is not involved. You can imagine you and I, making some kind of arrangement or agreement on Cynthia, and she doesn't have any idea what we're talking about. So it's really odd. So that was generally the speech, mostly anchored on domestic issues. He touched on Greenland, touched on Venezuela, touched on Europe. That was the gist of it. And the markets rose.
Thank you, Rotis, for that update. Now, if we're coming back to the developments, what we've seen today regarding the Board of Peace, we understand that a leaked charter suggests that the board might be designed to replace the functions of the United Nations, but President Trump is saying that the board will work in conjunction with the United Nations and saying that there's a lot of potential that's unexplored in that regard. From the temperature in the room and the conversations that you've heard, which one do you think we're most likely leaning towards?
Yeah, so Cynthia, look, these details have alarmed a lot of people. Again, the only reason why the United Nations signed up for this and gave this thing legitimacy was because the United States and Israel and others that were trying to broker peace were focused on Gaza. To now come out, and I know you've correctly said they want to work in conjunction with the United Nations, but who asked for this? That's what a lot of people are saying here. Why do we need another body to address conflicts when you've got the UN, you've got NATO, you've got so many other alliances that are supposed to be focused on peace around the world? So and then for Trump to be the board chair, for his cabinet members, this is just essentially an extension of the Trump administration. So that has raised a lot of questions there, and so the temperature is skeptical around this board.
Well, on that note, Rotis, thank you so much for that update. And we look forward to more from you from Davos. Thank you very much. Our business correspondent, Rotis Odiri, live in Davos.